Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I've got 3 SEC-related topics to share with you in this latest Moon Lambo Hot Jam because the SEC continues to prove that it's an organization full of people that, unfortunately, regrettably, nature did in fact create. So, Grayscale, which is a very big cryptocurrency hedge fund here in the good old United States, it looks like they're getting a bit aggressive. It looks like they actually are preparing to sue the SEC if something really important doesn't go the way that it should, if things aren't quite fair. I love to see this posturing. We got to bring it to the SEC, and we've seen that too, even if you look at what's happened within the XRP community. Obviously, what John Deaton's been doing, but in addition to that, there's the not-for-profit entity Empower Oversight, which sued the SEC in December over those Hinman-related emails and all of that jazz. There are people and entities moving forward. I just love to see it, happy to report it on this channel. Now, while this is happening, there have been attorneys working for the SEC that have given up. They've decided defeat is inevitable. They are hopping off that train and moving to the private sector because the way that Gary Gensler's running things, they don't see it as tenable. So. And you're not going to be surprised, but I want to highlight, it's not just us. We're not crazy for thinking this is the case here in the XRP community. No, Gensler is that horrible at running this organization, and he genuinely does not seem to give one single damn. And I'll wrap the video up with something that is hilarious and hypocritical, having to do with I could say it's being two-faced, certainly, as far as the SEC goes. They're arguing one thing in the SEC versus Ripple case, and then they're arguing a different thing on the same topic in the SEC versus Library case. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto stuff, all up in this bitch. But just as a hobby and just for fun, damn it. If you don't like it, well, you can just get out. So I thought I'd set the tone with this tweet from Library, who is being sued by the SEC currently for completely bogus claims, as if their token, LBC, Library Credit, is actually some sort of security. It is not, folks. But here's what Library had to say, and this is going to resonate with every XRP holder. They wrote, "Millions of Americans are buying, selling, and using blockchain assets. None of these Americans are going to the SEC and asking to be protected. So, who is the SEC actually serving? It's obviously not the American people." Golf clap for Library there. That is so true, is it not? So what are they doing? This is why I keep saying, like, we can't know for sure what's in their hearts and minds, but these are bad people, bad motives. Some of them just, I think it's career-oriented. It's a power grab. You know, if you're Gary Gensler, I mean, he's thinking beyond his tenure at the SEC. You know he is, right? So he just wants to prove that he can build up the power within the SEC, and then he's going to go on to bigger and better things. You know, and it depends on how things unfold politically and what might be available there, depending on what party's in charge. But don't you think that might be what he's thinking? Because he's certainly not protecting the people, and he's certainly done a complete 180 compared to a lot of things that he was saying about crypto and, even Ethereum. Like, he's done a 180 on some of this stuff compared to what he was saying 4 years ago when he was teaching at MIT. So, which Gary's the real Gary? Was he being honest in 2018 or honest in 2022? Well, I'm thinking he was being more honest in 2018 when he wasn't running the SEC. But now, just whatever will help the SEC to grow, that's what he's going for because he's a terrible human as far as I'm concerned. So here's the headline from Cointelegraph. Grayscale hires former Solicitor General to help force Bitcoin ETF approval. Now, I want to be clear at the outset here. ETFs are important. There should have been one approved in the United States by now. They've been approved in other parts of the world. I believe in Canada. I think Canada. I didn't fact check that before recording. You can fact check me. I'm pretty damn sure it was Canada and or Australia. I apologize if I'm off on that, but which is why I'm just making that disclaimer. But the point is, it has occurred elsewhere where it should have occurred in the United States. Now, this is important, even if you're an XRP holder, because if there's a Bitcoin ETF approved exchange traded fund, understand in order for that fund to exist, and the fund would trade on NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, major exchanges from legacy finance. Understand that fund, if you're purchasing into that fund, there's an underlying asset that the company that issued the ETF would have to hold. So if they have, say, Grayscale gets approved for a Bitcoin ETF, that means they've got to buy a boatload of Bitcoin, and that's representative of what is actually being traded on the exchanges. So in that case, supply and demand genuinely matter, and it impacts what's available on cryptocurrency exchange. It's simply supply and demand. So the more Bitcoin ETFs there are the world over, the better for Bitcoin, but also the better for XRP, because the whole market moves in tandem. So as XRP holders, we do want to see a Bitcoin ETF. It's just one more thing that can help fuel Bitcoin heading in the right direction, which is up. And I hope that everybody listening does want Bitcoin to do well. And I recognize it's the least technologically cryptocurrency in existence, but I'm still appreciative of it because it was the first one, and I still want it to do well. And I've got my critiques, I have my concerns, I've been vocalizing them for years, but I want it to do well. I hope it does, and I think it might. So we'll leave it at that for now. But check this out. Grayscale Investments has hired a former U.S. Solicitor General in preparation for a potential legal spat with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission should the regulator reject its application for a spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund on July 6th. The company has been waiting on a decision from the SEC to convert its flagship $19.8 billion Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into a spot-based ETF since filing its application to the regulator on October 19th, 2021. Okay, so pause. Grayscale already has their Bitcoin Trust, which is known as GBTC for short. That is not being traded on the New York Stock Exchange. It is not on NASDAQ. They would like to convert that into an ETF so that it can be listed there, so that it has more exposure, and then that it does impact. If there's a bunch of demand for that, then Grayscale has to purchase Bitcoin to back it effectively, for lack of a better word. So it absolutely supply and demand dynamics would be in play there. Very positive. Anyway, piece continues. The SEC has pushed back its decision on multiple occasions, once in December and again in February. A final decision on the application is expected on July 6th. Now, Jake Chervinsky, head of policy at the crypto advocacy group Blockchain Association, said adding such firepower to Grayscale's legal team was a strong move, and that's a quote, strong move, and that the SEC would have little chance of surviving a legal challenge if it decided to knock back approval now. In fact, in March, Grayscale CEO Michael Sonnenshein told Bloomberg that his firm would consider a lawsuit under the Administrative Procedure Act should the application for its Bitcoin spot ETF be denied by the financial regulator. Now, I'll tell you this. They're going to get denied, and there will be another firm that will end up getting approved at some point this summer. Now, I say that, not that I know that definitively, but I know somebody who knows some people that has indicated as much. So it looks like there's likely going to be an ETF approved, but not likely to be Grayscale. Let's just say that. So we'll see if that comes to pass. But yes, at some point, likely this summer, if this is true, should be. We'll see. And it wouldn't surprise me because the firm that's going to get approved, they clearly have way more connections with people at higher levels. I'll just say that, but I can't say anything beyond that. Now, here's what Attorney John Deaton had to say about this. Said, not might sue, but Michael Sonnenshein and Grayscale will sue, and they will win. In fact, it won't be close. The SEC and Gary Gensler have acted arbitrary and capricious in its denial and will lose a legal challenge regarding the denial of spot Bitcoin ETF. That's his quote. And I think he's right. And it's only going to strengthen their case when another firm, inevitably, that's not Grayscale, does get approved to have a Bitcoin ETF, which is what I think that's what I've been told. We shall see. And then there's this. Talk about SEC attorneys jumping ship. There's a tweet from somebody whose name I'm probably going to butcher. His name is Sujit Indap. Sorry, bro. I'm not good with names that are foreign to me. Anyway, he wrote, SEC lawyers quitting because Gensler wants to litigate cases, not settle. That can't be in line with reality, can it? Right? So there's this article from Law 360, and there are two image grabs that show excerpts. Here's the first one. Some of the exits have stemmed at least partly from conflicts with SEC Chair Gary Gensler's approach to enforcement and his drive for more litigation and settlement penalties, according to 2 former senior SEC officials who have returned to private practice and an industry recruiter who has worked with attorneys leaving the agency. Folks, I don't think that any of you listening are surprised to hear that, right? Is anybody surprised to hear that? He's doing everything he can to push, but the problem is he's turning off his team that actually works at the SEC. Here's the other screen grab. Take a look at this. In contrast to prior SEC leadership, they said, Gensler's top brass has pushed back more often on settlement proposals, which has produced tensions between the front office and the litigators trying to move cases across the finish line. Adding to the frustration is a feeling that the agency is pushing cases with weaknesses, one lawyer said. And here's a quote. "I like to try cases. I also like to win," said a former SEC official who left to enter private practice. "I was looking down the pipeline at the types of cases that the SEC is going to bring and not seeing a path toward victory on the SEC side." Hallelujah. And so we've been saying this for the long, like we're observing this. We're not in the know. We're not in the SEC. We don't have special connections with people at the SEC, but we're observing that the SEC's case in particular against Ripple looks very weak. They're on the wrong side of history here. The facts and circumstances are not on the side of the SEC. And now you see people jumping ship acknowledging that this is the approach that's being taken. Well, damn it. Not that I'm looking at literally every case the SEC is trying, but I'm observing this. I think we all are in the XRP community. And so Attorney Deaton said the following regarding this specifically. Translation. The SEC intends to bring cases against digital asset exchanges for selling securities, but won't identify which of those digital assets are securities, or Gary Gensler says everything except Bitcoin is a security and wants us to try and prove it. So I quit. Exactly. That's pretty much what appears to be going on here. And then this was shared by XRP community member and attorney James K. Filan. There's a document. It was in the SEC versus Library case, and he tweeted out the following regarding this document. In the Library case, the SEC moves to strike a supplemental expert report claiming Library is trying to correct defects in an expert's report that were exposed in his deposition. I'm just going to let that one sit there. Now, let me explain why this is hypocritical and also hysterical. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but SEC assets, folks, I don't control what these little creatures do that nature accidentally made. So you may recall that in the SEC versus Ripple case, there's a Dr. Albert Metz hired by the SEC as an expert witness who is paid $600 an hour to create a report that allegedly proves that XRP, if not for Ripple existing, XRP would never have exceeded 2 cents. He literally made that claim. So which means he's making the claim that XRP would be the only cryptocurrency in existence that last market cycle in 2017. It would be the only cryptocurrency in existence at that time that wouldn't have gone up. The rest of them would have, but he says without Ripple, XRP would not have gone above 2 cents. He had a 100-plus page report, paid $600 an hour to make it. Well, I'll tell you what, he was certainly sufficiently financially incentivized. Now, Ripple's expert witnesses pushed back on this report and said, hey, you've got flawed methodology in here. And frankly, you know what? I mean, if that's true, then the whole thing, the whole expert report, in quotes, expert report, the whole thing should be thrown out if that's true. If there's flawed methodology, it's got to go. Or if the credentials of the expert are not sufficient, then still has to go. But anyway, so Ripple's Ripple's expert witnesses, they pushed back because they've got their own claim saying no. Here's the reason XRP is actually moving. Here's the proof, and it's moving in tandem with the Bitcoin. Well, this Dr. Albert Metz, who created this expert report, he filed a supplemental report outside of the timeline when he was allowed to do so. And the SEC argued that they should be able to add it. Now, unfortunately, the judge in the Ripple case, she actually did approve it, although she verbally slammed them. I think that she should have just said absolutely no because she acknowledged it was outside the rules of the court, but she allowed it anyway. She verbally slammed them. So the SEC pushed for a supplemental report to be approved in the SEC versus Ripple case, but then in the SEC versus Library case, it was Library who wanted to file a supplemental expert witness report on their side, and there The SEC says no, 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 and they're moving to strike the supplemental report. What in the ever-loving hell? So with Ripple, oh no, come on, you gotta allow the supplemental report, bro. Come on, bro, I gotta have the supplemental report. And then with the SEC library case, no, 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 whoa, supplemental report. No, we can't be having the supplemental report. My God, these terrible creatures. There is no consistency with these people. It's truly astonishing. And so, on that topic, Attorney John Deaton, he just had one sentence, which reads as follows: "Just when you thought the SEC couldn't, ... That's sufficient." That pretty well sums it up, folks. These terrible creatures. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.